The heist of the century struck at the very heart of Paris. Thieves, as if stepped out from the pages of a Napoleonic novel, slipped into the Apollo Gallery of the Louvre, smashed open the display cases, and carried off more than diamonds and pearls. They stole history itself. Jewels that had once lit coronations, weddings, and triumphs vanished in an instant. They had adorned the women whose destinies shaped Europe: Marie-Louise, Josephine's stepdaughter Hortense, Empress Eugenie. Each had left a part of her legend in these treasures. Now their names echo differently, as cries of loss, for their crowns and necklaces lie in the hands of criminals. Let us uncover what disappeared from this dazzling collection. We begin with the most majestic victim of the theft: Empress Eugenie's pearl tiara. This magnificent diadem of pearls and diamonds, set with 212 pearls and 1,998 diamonds, was commissioned by Emperor Napoleon III in honor of his marriage to Eugenie de Montijo in 1853. It was fashioned from the gemstones of the French crown jewels, once worn by Empress Marie-Louise of Austria and Princess Marie-Thérèse, Duchess of Angoulême. The tiara consisted of 7 sprays, each bearing 3 large pearls stacked one above the other, alternating with 8 diamond cartouches crowned with pear-shaped motifs. The cartouches themselves were lined with diamonds and edged with pearls, each enclosing 3 more pearls and delicate diamond ornaments. All of it rested on a band of round pearls and diamond leaves. In total, 212 pearls, including 17 pear-shaped, 1,998 diamonds, and 992 rose-cut stones. Empress Eugenie wore the magnificent pearl tiara for her legendary portrait by the celebrated Franz Haver Winterhalter in 1853, soon after her marriage, only days after the then Prince-President Napoleon declared himself emperor. The tiara remained in France even when Napoleon III and Eugenie went into exile in 1870. Displayed at the World's Fair of 1878 and at the Louvre in 1884, it was sold 3 years later for 78,100 francs at the 1887 auction of the French crown jewels. In 1890, Prince Albert von Thurin on taxis purchased the tiara as a wedding gift for his bride, Archduchess Margareta Clementina of Austria. She wore it often throughout her long marriage. It then passed down through her sons, though it lay unworn for years. After the prince's death in 1990, the tiara was sold with other family treasures to stabilize their finances, becoming the highlight of a Sotheby's auction in 1992. The pearl tiara of Empress Eugenie was acquired by the Friends of the Louvre and proudly displayed among the French crown jewels in the Apollo Gallery, until it was stolen. No less important is the next treasure lost, the emerald necklace of Marie-Louise. Its story begins in Paris, 1810. The city hummed with anticipation of a new imperial wedding. Napoleon Bonaparte was taking as his bride the young Austrian Archduchess Marie-Louise. It was no romance, but a political alliance. France and Austria, bound to secure the new empire with legitimacy and splendor. For this union, Napoleon ordered the creation of 2 spectacular perus, one of opals, the other of emeralds. The commission went to François Renal Nitto, Napoleon's favorite jeweler, a man who understood that a jewel for an empress must be more than adornment. It must be a manifesto of power. Thus was born the necklace now counted among the stolen. It blazed with 32 Colombian emeralds, green as spring forests, entwined with a sea of 874 diamonds and 264 pink diamonds. 10 large emeralds, oval and elongated, formed its foundation. Each was ringed with gems, linked to the next by diamond palmettes with smaller emeralds glinting between. This was the language of empire, authority written in the geometry of stone, brilliance rivaling the sun. When it rested on Marie-Louise's neck, it was both crown and shield. a symbol that the bond between Vienna and Paris was sealed not only with ink on treaties, but with the fire of emeralds. Its history is dramatic in its own right. In 1814, when Marie-Louise left Paris after Napoleon's fall, she did not leave the necklace to France. She carried it away among her personal jewels, as memory and as possession. Later, it passed to her relatives, the Dukes of Tuscany. Only in the 20th century did its trail lead to the jeweler Van Cleef and Arpels. In 2004, after its long journey, it found its way into the Louvre's collection. Now it is gone, the glass shattered, the case empty, and the emeralds, once symbols of dynastic union, are again in exile, this time in the hands of thieves. And that was not the only loss. Another parure disappeared, another emblem of empire, the sapphire set of Hortense de Beauharnais. She was called the daughter of the empire. Hortense, born of Josephine and her first husband, became Napoleon's stepdaughter. When her mother rose as Empress of France, Hortense was drawn into the center of a new dynastic drama. Her fate was predetermined: a political marriage, a crown, and with it, a symbolic gift in jewels. In the early 19th century, a sapphire and diamond parure was created for her. Unlike the emerald splendor of Marie-Louise, this set glowed with a cold, celestial blue. Large Ceylon sapphires, deep, dark stones, were framed by halos of diamonds set in gold. Every link in the parure was a hymn to eternity. In Europe, sapphire was seen as the stone of heaven, fidelity, and majesty. The set included a tiara, a necklace, and earrings, everything required for ceremonial appearances when Josephine's stepdaughter stood at court alongside Napoleon and his brothers. But the jewels outlived her own lifetime. In 1825, the parure passed into the hands of the Orleans dynasty. Louis Philippe, Duke of Orleans, purchased it from Hortense and gave it to his wife, Maria Amalia of Naples. When Louis Philippe ascended as King of France in 1830, the sapphires had already become part of a new royal iconography. Maria Amalia wore them as queen, and with this, she literally embodied the dynasty that replaced the Bonapartes. Portraits of the time still bear witness. Queen Maria Amalia in the blue sapphire tiara surrounded by the blaze of diamonds. It was the moment when a jewel ceased to be mere ornament and became a symbol of power's transfer from Napoleon's empire to the monarchy of the Orleans. The parure remained with the family until the late 20th century. Only in 1985 did the Louvre require it, adding it as a chapter of not just Napoleonic, but French royal history. But the thieves knew exactly what they were after. From the set, they took its heart. The tiara, the necklace, and one earring disappeared. Only the second earring remained in the case, a haunting reminder of the criminal's haste. And still, it was only the beginning. For next the thieves reached for the sacred relic of the Second Empire, the jewel of Empress Eugenie, wife of Napoleon III, the so-called reliquary brooch. In the mid-19th century, France thrived under the Second Empire. Paris shone with lights, its exhibitions dazzled the world, and Empress Eugenie had become the style icon of Europe, setting trends that rippled from court to court. It was in 1855, at the height of this glory, that her brooch was created, the jewel that would later be known as the reliquary. Its maker was Alfred Bapst, a jeweler famed for blending the discipline of classicism with the fantasy of his age. The brooch had everything: majesty, brilliance, and a hint of sacred mystery. 94 diamonds, some drawn from the legendary collection of Cardinal Mazarin, were set in elaborate compositions: rosettes, triangles, ovals. Together, they created the illusion that the jewel breathed with light, changing shape as it caught each movement. On the reverse, the piece was etched with the finest golden scrolls and leaves, but its greatest enigma lay in a tiny compartment hidden within. Despite its name, no relic was ever placed inside. Perhaps it was meant to hold a lock of hair, a miniature cross, or a saint's fragment, but the space remained empty. For Eugenie, the brooch was far more than an adornment. It was made in the very year France staged its grand triumph at the Paris World Fair. Worn on her breast, the brooch proclaimed that French craftsmanship rivaled any in Europe. After the empire's fall, the brooch remained in France. In 1887, when so many royal and imperial treasures were sold off, it entered the Louvre and became a museum piece for all to see. Now, its case lies empty. The thieves tore it from its glass shrine, and the brooch, in which Mazarin stones still gleamed with the light of the Second Empire, has vanished. Another victim of the robbery was the extraordinary diamond bow. The history of this jewel is steeped in symbolism. In 1855, Paris witnessed something almost unthinkable: a belt set with more than 4,000 diamonds. Created by jeweler Francois Kramer for Empress Eugenie, it was a symbol of luxury that seemed to shout, "The empire lives, France is invincible." Over time, Eugenie stopped wearing the belt as a whole. By 1864, she began separating elements from it and turning them into independent pieces of jewelry. Thus, the bow was born, light and airy, yet encrusted with hundreds of stones. The diamonds glittered in folds that imitated fabric. It was an illusion, stone masquerading as cloth, hardness transformed into softness. At balls and grand receptions, the bow shone so brilliantly that newspapers wrote about it. Its journey was winding. After the fall of the Second Empire, it was sold, passing first to the American socialite Caroline Astor, then to the Duke of Westminster in England. In the 20th century, it crossed the ocean once again, eventually returning to Europe. Finally, in 2008, the Louvre acquired it, bringing it back home. Now it is gone once more. Thieves smashed the display and carried it off, leaving only shards of glass behind. And then came the final stroke in this tragic story, the crown of Eugenie. It was created in 1855 specially for the Paris Exposition. Gold, emeralds, diamonds, palmettes, imperial eagles, symbols of sovereignty. Curiously, Eugenie herself never wore it. The crown was conceived as an exhibition piece, a display of imperial grandeur, a showpiece of France's might. After the fall of the empire, the crown returned to the Bonaparte family, and in the 20th century it was acquired by a collector and later donated to the Louvre. During the robbery, the thieves seized it as well, but in their frantic escape, they dropped it and damaged it. Even the crown was powerless to defend itself from such vandalism. These treasures were never mere ornaments. They were fragments of France's very history. The emeralds of Louise, the sapphires of Josephine's daughter, the pearls and diamonds of Empress Eugenie, each jewel carried the memory of marriages, alliances, triumphs, and downfalls. Now only empty cases remain, shards of glass, and the tracks of criminals vanishing into the darkness of Paris. Yet however much time may pass, stones like these cannot vanish without a trace. The whole world will recognize them. We can only hope they will one day be found and returned, and that those who dared raise a hand against this imperial legacy will face justice. And now the question is yours. Which of these stolen masterpieces struck you the most? The emerald necklace of Louise, the sapphire tiara of Hortense, or the pearl crown of Eugenie? Share in the comments which of these treasures speaks to you. And tell us, do you believe they will ever return? History sometimes feels as fragile as the glass of the Louvre's display cases, but by remembering it, we ensure it will never truly disappear.